Previously, you were taught electoral constituency. Today, I will teach you the meaning of elections. Of course, you know that election is a peaceful way of changing the government. First, let's look at the lesson objectives. By the end of this class, you should be able to explain the meaning of elections, highlight the functions of election, identify the various types of elections, and finally, make a distinction between secret balloting and public voting. Now, what is election? Election can be defined as a means of voting a candidate to represent the people of a country, either in the parliament or in the executive arm of government. Sometimes it could even be in the judiciary. For instance, in the United States of America, elections are conducted for judges of the lower courts. Also, we have some functions of elections, that is, the importance of elections. By importance, we mean the functions of elections. Again, it could also mean the various merits of elections. What are the various importance? Among the various importance of elections is that it gives room for smooth change of government, which means that elections makes it easy for the people to remove a bad government from office. Election gives the elected representatives the legitimate right to rule. Again, the people have the free choice of electing their leaders into political offices, and it gives the people the control over the elected leaders, and as well as make those leaders accountable to the people. Election fosters democracy, which means that it creates the avenue of people to participate in decision-making of their country. Election educates the electorate, which means that the people receive citizenship education and are educated about their political rights. Election can be used as a means of measurement, which means that the results of elections can be used to measure the opinions of the people on issues of national importance. We have some demerits of elections. What are the various demerits? By demerits, we mean disadvantages. Anything that has advantage usually has a disadvantage. What are the various demerits of elections? Among the various demerits of elections is that elections make for antagonistic groups, which means that election can divide the country into antagonistic groups with different camps opposing one another. Election can cause disunity. Division of the country for election purposes or people belonging to different political parties can cause disunity in the country. Again, there is wastage of funds. A lot of money, materials, and so on are usually wasted conducting elections into different political offices. There could be election rigging. Rigging may throw people of dubious intentions into government. Again, election can lead to even development, that is, uneven development. The party in government may decide not to assist areas that did not vote or support them during elections. This can result in uneven development of the country. Also, the best material may not be involved in the administration. They may withdraw from taking part in elections as a result of thuggery, intimidations, victimization, and so on that characterize the electoral process. Again, election gives room to marginalization. Elections may still marginalize some people or groups in the society, and this may cause disaffection in political system. Of course, elections in this part of the world is still evolving. We still have and experience lots of electoral malpractices and irregularities like the underage voting. Notwithstanding, let's consider the various types of elections that we have. Among the various elections we have is direct election, indirect election, by-election, run-off election, or you call that second ballot, primary election, referendum, and so many others. We'll look at this one after the other. Let's start with direct election. When we talk of direct elections, it involves electorates voting directly, casting their votes in an election for the candidate of their choice who will represent them either in the executive or legislature. This means that the electorate or voters cast their votes without any form of external interference. There are also some merits of direct election. When we talk of merits of direct election, we mean some of the advantages. One is that it restores voters' rights. The rights of the electors, that is the electorate, are restored in the voting for the right candidate of their choice. Also, it is democratic, which means that it affords mass participation in political decision-making of the country. It ensures equality of votes, which means that one man, one vote applies. It gives the electorate equality of votes in the system. There is popular choice, which means that direct election reflects popular choice of the people. It also enhances dedication and hard work, as most of the candidates work very hard to defeat their political opponents in the election. Again, it creates opportunity for people. What this means is that the people would know the prospective representatives aspiring to present and represent their interest in government. Also, it is simple to operate in the sense that direct elections are simple and can easily be adopted in many countries of the world. And let's look at the disadvantages or demerits of direct elections. Demerits. Among the various demerits of direct election is the problem of rigging. Direct elections are generally characterized by malpractices. Results may at times be falsified to favor a particular candidate. Also, corruption among some electoral officials or officers. Some electoral officers connive with politicians to ensure the success of a particular party or candidate. And sometimes there could be poor turnout. Poor turnout of voters is usually not a true reflection of the number of those who registered. Again, inadequate security at polling stations. In most cases, many polling stations lack adequate security, and this can lead to intimidation and harassment of voters by thugs and other miscreants. Thuggery and intimidation. It can encourage violence, victimization of political opponents, and so on and so forth. Let's look at some feedback questions. Feedback questions. Number 1, what is an election? 2, what are the functions of election? 3, highlight the various types of elections. And 4, explain direct election, its merits and demerits. Answer these questions in your notes, and if you don't understand these questions, you can watch the video over again before attempting these questions. Alright, now that you have answered these questions, let's proceed by looking at types of voting. When we talk of types of voting, we mean the two major types, which are the secret balloting or public voting. The secret balloting is the type of voting where voters cast their votes secretly. The voters are given ballot papers with the names of political parties and their symbol inscribed on this paper, and then ink is also given to them so that they can thumbprint. Also, there are presiding officer, polling clerk, and polling orderly. These persons are the electoral officials in charge of the polling station. There are also security agents. Let's see some of the merits of secret balloting. 1, it is democratic in the sense that it preserves the rights of the voter. He makes the decision without anyone compelling him or her. It is universal in the sense that it is more of a universal kind of voting than the public voting. It also gives sense of direction to the voter in deciding who to vote for. Also, it is free from intimidation. The voter is free from intimidation, harassment from anybody, be it his employer or whosoever. Also, there is freedom of choice. It gives voter freedom to decide for a candidate of his or her choice. Also, it gives satisfaction. The voter is satisfied with the confidence that he has exercised his franchise. Also, it gives the voter a sense of belonging. Now, let's look at some of the demerits of secret balloting. Demerits. Among the various demerits of secret ballot system include that 1, it is difficult to comprehend. This type of system is difficult because of the tedious process that the voter has to go through before voting. Also, we have illiteracy. The illiterate ones can vote blindly because they cannot read or write. Also, it is time-consuming. Many people might decide not to vote because it is time-consuming. And lastly, it is costly to operate. The cost involved in the production of materials, electoral materials, can be a huge burden on the country adopting the secret ballot system. When we say burden, we mean the financial burden and cost. So let's look at public voting. Public voting is the type of voting where people vote publicly. The voters will have to line up according to their political parties, and the counting of voters is done by the presiding officer before everybody present, and the results are declared on the spot. Nigeria has practiced this system before. So let's look at the merits of public voting. Merits of public voting. One among the various merits is that public voting is simple to operate. The voting exercise is very simple to operate. Again, it is less costly because it is not like the secret ballot. There are public responsibility. As voting is a public responsibility, each exercise should also be public. Also, suffrage is a trust. Suffrage is a trust. Every eligible adult is entitled to vote during an election. Again, there is sufficient enlightenment. If a community is adequately enlightened, the members are encouraged to withstand improper pressure. Public voting should be desirable. Also, it reduces electoral malpractice. This is possibly the case because the materials that can enhance electoral malpractice are not in place, e.g. ballot box, ballot papers, etc. Again, we have immediate release of results. The voting are counted on the spot and the results are declared before everybody. Now let's look at indirect elections. What is indirect election? Indirect election is a type of election where the electorate vote for members of parliament who will in turn vote for the president of the country. Of course, this type of system is practiced especially in the United Kingdom, Britain, where the people vote for the parliament and then the parliament votes for who to become their prime minister. Let's look at some of the merits of indirect election. Among the various merits of indirect election is that the best qualified are those who vote, which means that the legislators form the electoral college in indirect election. And the possible advantage is that members of the college are seen as best qualified to elect leaders. There is less violence. Indirect election produces less violence than the direct election. Also, they are well informed. Members of the electoral college have the opportunity of examining the candidates before the voting. Again, rigging is partially absent. The opportunity of rigging is partially absent. It may or may not be there at all. Also, it is less costly in the sense that indirect election is not as costly as the direct election. Let's look at demerits. Among the various demerits is that it is not as democratic as direct election. Again, there is no room for wider political participation. That means that indirect election system does not give wider political participation in the state. There is usually bribery and corruption. It promotes bribery and corruption and manipulation of the delegates. Also, people's will may be jeopardized. The final result may not reflect the will of the people. There is denial of the people's popular sovereignty. The system denies people of their popular sovereignty. The electorate have the ultimate power to elect the candidate of their choice instead of the way we have in the indirect system. There is violation of principle of one man, one vote. Indirect election violates the democratic principle of one man, one vote. Sometimes there is discontent. It may breed discontent and political instability in the country. Let's look at the evaluation questions I have for you, which is assignment. 1. Define the concept election. 2. State the various functions of elections. 3. Highlight the various types of elections. And 4. Distinguish between secret balloting and public voting. Do this assignment in your notes and ensure you study ahead until we meet again in our next class. Do have a wonderful time to yourself. Goodbye.